Praise the Lord, everyone. We are on segment 3 of the book called The Let Them Theory, and taking notes and sharing the highlights of this book by Mel Robbins, New York Times bestselling author. And I picked this book up because just very much the name of it, the title of it, it's called Let Them. It spoke to me immediately. And I was able to resist that little phrase, let them, because there are so many times I don't want to let them. There are so many times I just want to say, I need to do something about it. I can't let them. But I knew in my spirit when I heard that phrase, let them, I knew it was something that I need to work on. And I thought that there's probably, because of the fact that she is a New York Times bestselling author, I figured there are people who are also in need of that simple reminder to just let them. And it's a way to live a stress-free and joyful life without having anxiety and thoughts and wanting to control others. So we are on chapter 2. You may have seen my videos where I have been commentating on the intro to this book and chapter 1, but right now we are in chapter 2, getting started with the let them theory and let me, because let me is going to be part of the let them, and you'll see. This particular chapter, the author is talking about being on Facebook and scrolling through and seeing her friend, and she's off on this vacation and looking good and healthy and just looks like she's having a joyous time. Then she happens to see another one of her friends that in her friend group, and she sees that friend is like at a beach, and she's like, oh, she's traveling. And then the next one is also at this resort style place. And then she starts delving into it a little bit deeper and looking and noticing that those 3 friends were all together and that she had not been invited. And I mean, it's one thing to see somebody at a beach and having a nice time on a vacation, maybe that you can't afford, or maybe that you don't have the time to be able to do, or the means or whatever, and being jealous or having a little bit of that green monster arrive. But when you look and you see that your friend group has gone on this trip and you were not invited, that is what she was dealing with. And so she started wondering, are they mad at me? Have I offended someone? Why was I not invited? She wanted to investigate this. And then she remembered her new theory that she wanted to put into practice, and that was let them. And so instead of turning her friends into villains to make herself feel better, she just decided to say, no, let them have a good time. They're having a wondrous time, and for whatever reason of why they didn't invite me, I'm not going to stress about it. I know my friends care about me. I know they love me, whether it was an omission or whatever. She just started saying, let them. And she started hoping that they had a great time and that they were getting what they wanted to get from their experience. But she had to process this, and it was painful. She was admitting in this book, it was very painful. She admits the process. She goes into more detail, but she also wanted to put across this message that rejection is anxiety. Rejection is pain. And that is what she was trying to process. And so she just said, let them have fun. And the more that she wished well for them, the better that she felt in her own mind. She couldn't fix it. She didn't think that she had done anything to cause it, but if she had or if she hadn't, it had happened. It was going on, and she could not let this thing consume her. So she said, let them. And that knot in her chest, that anxiousness just started to dissipate. The knot loosened and the freedom came. And she felt so free. So what? Maybe they were even mad at her. Maybe they were plotting against her. Oh well, let them. And so we all have moments that we try to control the world around us, or especially when we feel hurt, we're annoyed, we're afraid. We try to process that pain in unhealthy ways, and we try to just carry it, be hurt by it. It's affecting our health, it's affecting our mind, it's affecting our joy. We have to let it go, and we have to let them. But many times when she was upset, if something didn't work out, she thought that she had to take control of that she had to figure out why. And she had talked to many psychologists about that urge to control. And she discussed that in this chapter, which is, what are we really trying to control? Really. We are trying to influence our partners to make sure that they do the right thing to make us happy. We're trying to control others. We're imposing our opinions on friends. We're imposing ourselves on our friend groups, and believing that we know better than they do. And that's not always the case. Just because it's a way that we want to do something, or an opinion that we have, it doesn't mean that others have to do it that way. It doesn't mean that they have to think that way. That's just the way that we think. And imposing those things on our friends is so stressful. And so we believe that we can protect ourselves from pain and rejection by imposing what we believe on other people, but that's just an illusion. You're actually projecting control, or you're projecting judgment, and it doesn't work. Because if we think about our own selves, we don't want to be controlled. We don't want to be judged. So just let them have your opinion, share your opinion, but don't impose your opinion. There's a difference. It's almost like we have to demand that people see it our way, but that amplifies our fears, because if they don't, then we feel rejected, and it's a vicious cycle. So just let them think what they think, let them do what they do, and let go of that control. Controlling people doesn't calm our fears. It amplifies them. And the more we try to control something that we can't, the more anxious and stressed that we are going to be. So let them is a tool to implement wisdom in our lives. It's not just that mindset hack. It is actually a concept that will bring us peace and bring others peace. Okay? We just only control ourselves. We don't control others. We have our own thoughts and our own actions, and we are not responsible, nor do we have a say-so in others' actions. And so it's kind of, a detachment sort of theory, that it teaches us how to emotionally distance ourselves from something that is actually going to trigger us. So when we're carrying that desire and that need to have others do or think the way that we are thinking, again, when they don't, it becomes a rejection, which becomes a pain, which becomes an anxiety, which becomes a stress. But if we don't care and we're just detaching ourselves from however they're doing their thing, then we are having peace. And so if you think about how this applies to different areas in your life, let's say that you're in this meeting at work and you have this great idea, you're really excited about it, you put a lot of thought into it, you know that your idea has lots of potential and people are going to love it, of course. But whenever you pitch it, you just are met with silence, you know, and you start second guessing yourself. You start wondering if maybe you know, aren't right about what you were thinking, or maybe they don't like you because you're the one that said it, even though it's a good idea. Well, the dismissal of your idea can crush you in that moment. You can just start carrying anxiety immediately, or you can dismiss it and you can just say, okay, let them not like my idea. Let's just move on, and detach yourself from the whole thing. How you gave the pitch, you're still that same person. You still have those same talents. You still have the ability to succeed. You still had an idea and you put it out there, whether or not they accept it or not. And this goes for dating. This goes for texting, anything. If you've put yourself out there and you aren't accepted, that does not mean that you aren't right for someone. That doesn't mean that if you text someone and they don't text you back, that doesn't mean that there isn't someone out there who would appreciate your text, whether or not that person, maybe they didn't even get the text. Maybe their phone, their battery was down, you know, but we start putting it back on ourselves and taking that rejection. No, don't do that. Just say, I put it out there. If no one accepted that and they didn't want to accept it, let them not accept it. It's okay, because I'm still a good and valuable person with good and valuable ideas, and I'm just going on to the next person. Don't start texting them. Don't start asking them, did you get my text? Or why did you reject me? If I asked you out and you said no, why did you say no? What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. You are a great person. Maybe not for that person, but you are, maybe you're just not, that person didn't connect with you the way that you felt like you connected with them. It's okay. And their disrespect, even if they are totally disrespecting you, that has nothing to say or do with you. You're still a great person, but how you respond, the question is, why would you want to be with someone who does not want to be with you? You don't. You aren't going to waste any more energy. You put it out there and they didn't receive it, so don't try to control it. Don't try to carry it as this rejection or pain. Whether work, dating, pitching ideas, let them ignore you. Let them dismiss you, because you know your value. It's just, I am valuable. Say that. I am valuable. I have great ideas and I have great input. And just remind yourself that their acceptance of you does not make who you are. You are who you are. You're a great person regardless if they disregard you. And it goes back to this lady when she was scrolling and really realizing that she had been left out. She was not aware that her friends had gone away. When she saw that when she put it together that they had left without her and not invited her, her emotions started taking over. And an insecurity started developing in her that something was wrong with her. And that's not the case. Nothing was wrong with her. It just, the opportunity didn't present itself to her, whatever reason. And she is a wonderful person. In fact, she's the best-selling author right now. And her friends, are probably trying to make their bills. So, it doesn't have anything to do with who she was or what she was doing. It just was a circumstance. So she talks about the seesaw, the visual of a seesaw on a playground, okay? And she wants to explain the power dynamic between you and other people. It goes up and down how much you use this let them theory. When someone does something like planning something and not including you, or rejecting your idea, not texting you back, not taking you up on your offer to go out to eat, or even as a friend to, offer a friend to go shopping or to the store, and they're like, no, I can't, I don't want to. And then if you react negatively and you have self-destructive thoughts or heavy emotions about that, then you're weighed down. And your reaction, though, is what is going to tip the scales and change the dynamic between you and someone else. Without let them, you're going to feel inferior, jealous, insecure, left out, less than. But it's only because of you. It's only because of me. It's only because I would allow it or you would allow it. We don't have to allow other people's actions to weigh us down. And but anytime you internalize those actions and feelings as evidence that something's wrong with you've done something wrong, you're not good enough, then you are giving people the power. So it shifts the dynamic and the balance in that relationship, because now you feel beneath them. You feel like you're inferior and they're superior. That's not the case. You can say, let them, and now you are on the top and they are at the bottom. Not that you're trying to put people at the bottom, but you're not putting them above what your health and your mind is going to be and do and relax and have peace over. Because superiority, detachment, false control, judgment, it feels good to just rise above other people and the situations that bother you. And that's why it's so freeing to say, let them. Because when you're up, you now feel this false sense of superiority and confidence, and you push through those heavy emotions, and then you rise up. And this automatically makes you feel weirdly above them, because, and not in a bad way, I don't mean this in a bad way, because we want to prefer and love our brothers and sisters, right? But you give yourself that temporary feeling of power over their action. And you can just say, let them. And a little superior, it's almost like a feeling of superiority. But I don't mean this in a bad way, but I just mean you become superior over your inferiority. And I hope that makes sense, that I'm not telling you to act like you're better than everybody, because you're probably not going to win friends and influence people that way either. But we're talking about having power over those emotions, those heavy emotions, those dark emotions, that inferiority and that stress and anxiety and depression over what someone did. But if you rise above it and say, no, just let them. And that gives you that power, okay? And it gives you that balance to not succumb and just be down. Now what, though? You'll be sitting there and you're looking down on all these other people. You're going, I don't care what they think. But you might feel stranded in your superiority. Like I said, it's a temporary thing. It's just a temporary thing. Just give yourself a temporary moment of superiority. Don't take on that attitude. Again, you're not going to win friends and influence people by acting superior to them, but it's just for the moment. Just for the moment, you're gonna ride in it. And if all you ever do is say, let them, then you're not trying to isolate yourself, but you are not wanting to take it to the level where you withdraw or shut down. There's a balance, okay? And the old us would just say, I'm done with my friends. Now, just because they went on a trip without you and you say let them, doesn't mean that you can no longer be friendly to them, and now you're going to be rude if you see them and you're going to cut them off and unfriend them. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about we're still going to be our friendly self to them. We're still going to be available to them for the friendship that we have always been. And we're still going to reach out. We're not going to gossip about them. How could they do that to me? Or they think they're so much better than me. No, these are people that you actually, and you want to be friends with. In this scenario of this author, she wanted to be friends with them. So she wasn't going to bash them. She wasn't going to call them up and, chew them out and tell them, how could you do this, or unfriend them. She's just going to be her same old self. She's just not going to let that situation drown her and make her feel anything like negative. And how is feeling superior going to help create great friendships? Well, it's not. But if you just say let them, it's just for the purpose of letting go of the pain. And you can't just say let them, because we have to emphasize this. You can't, it's a momentary reaction to a dark pain. You just say let them. Lord bless them. Let them be on their way without me. But I'm still going to be who I am. I'm still going to be that friend. I'm still going to be interested and caring toward them. But I'm going to have the power in my own thought process not to be drowned by an action that somebody took that hurt me. And so you have to say both parts. You have to say, let them do this, but let me do that. Let me be who I still am. And another example that I can personally think of is, sending people birthday gifts. I don't send people birthday gifts just because if they send me one. That's not why I'm giving a birthday gift. Or if they haven't called me in 6 months, but they've been my friend, and I know that I can call them up and we can be friends right where we left off. I'm not going to say, well, I haven't talked to them in 6 months. I'm not sending them a present. Or they went on a trip without me. There's no present for me. No, let them, be distant or whatever. They have things going on in their life. But let me do what I've always done, and that's care about them and to reach out to them and touch them in those ways, like the birthday gifts, okay? Let me is that power move. Let them is almost that antidote where you superiorize yourself over the pain so that you don't feel inferior, but you don't cut off. You have to do the let me be who I still am toward them. You can control your attitude. You can control your reaction, your behavior, your values, your needs, your desires, what you want to do in response to what just happened are all within your own control. Let me is all about self-awareness of your own compassion, your own personal responsibility. Your friends or her friends that went away aren't better than her, and she's not better than them, but she's not going to allow what they did to control her. So she's going to let them, and then she's going to let herself accept and understand, be compassionate, have her own responsibility for her actions about what happened, and then she's going to get the true control. And now the balance is there. She's going to create the balance. She don't want to be all the way down, and she don't want to be all the way up with superiority, but she wants to be right at them at the level that she's at. And so she said let them. She rose above the emotion and the hurt. And then she gave herself that mental space to look at the situation outside of herself. And the more that she said let them, the more that's what she actually wanted to do. But then when she looked in the mirror, she saw that she'd been so busy working the past few years, she'd barely even seen her friends. And she hadn't invited them to do anything. And if they had invited her, she had said no. So maybe they now just felt like she wasn't going to come anyway. And so if she's not making an effort, if she's not attending the small things, why would she be invited to the big thing? And so she put that responsibility back on her, and she recognized that nobody owes her an invitation. Nobody owes her a call. And it felt good. It really felt good you do deserve friends who reach out, but are you that friend who reaches out as well? just like the lady, she always came into church and sat in the back, and she expected everyone to come to her, shake her hand, say hello, have the pastor come back and talk to her. And then one time the pastor didn't even acknowledge that she was there. And she said, well, the pastor didn't even shake my hand. He, didn't even act like he knew I was there. And I asked her, I said, did you shake the pastor's hand? Did you let the pastor know that he was there, that you knew he was there? Why is it all about you? And it occurred to her that she was one-sided on this relationship. You've got to be reciprocal. And you can't just judge what people are doing without asking yourself, what have you done? And so, it's like with the birthday gift, it could be like, well, nobody sends me birthday gifts, or nobody sends me cards. How many birthday gifts do you give out? How many cards do you send? And maybe it's a lot, but so what? Why are you sending them anyway? To get something back? No, we give because we want to. So don't forget that there's a couple warnings with this. You can use the let them, and you can apply it to children, but mostly we're talking about adult relationships, not little children. We're not going to say, oh, let them play in the street. They are bothering me, but I don't, I can't have control. Yes, you can. You're their parent, you're the adult. You can come up with a responsible way to teach them to be responsible about playing in the street. But if you are using the let them theory and it's making you feel isolated, withdrawn, and lonely, then you're doing it wrong. Okay, that's just a warning. That's critical. You have to have the balance. You got to get your little superiority to get yourself through the moment. Say, it doesn't matter to me, and I'm still me, and I'm lovable, and I'm superior to all of that rejection and all that. And then you bring it, remember, back down to that balance, but I'm still me, and I'm going to let them, and I'm going to let me be who I am. I'm going to continue to reach out. I'm going to continue to be who I am. They're not taking who I am away from me because of their actions. And if you use this let them theory, you're going to be able to manage your stress. You're not going to fear other people's opinions, just like with the throwing your idea out there and everybody's just stone cold silent. So what? It was still a good idea. You have to understand that. It was a good idea, or at least you were brave enough to put it out there when maybe nobody else was putting their idea out. So you're still good, And we're just going to understand that the more you let other people live their lives without, your judgment or your control or your depression, anger, angst, anxiety, being upset, etc., over things that they've done, then the better your life is going to get. And we're going to be talking about overcoming chronic comparison and dealing with stress in the next chapter, chapter 3. So please join me for chapter 3 as we take notes on the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. It's a New York best-selling, she's a New York Times best-selling author, and it's a New York Times best-selling book for a reason, because this works. Thank you, and please leave your thoughts in the comments.